Chapter 3. To the Earth. Sena and the girls gathered in one of the briefing rooms for the staff of the Kamadake. Okay, listen up. I'm here to brief you on my planet, Kariko announced with authority as she stood before the monitor. Mia. Sena sat to the side of the lecture with Fuku, who was scared by Kariko's intimidating tone. But why was she speaking in such a harsh tone? Well, it had something to do with what the other girls were wearing. I can't believe you guys. Especially you, Karen and Swearman. Where the hell do you think we're going? Why are you dressed to walk into a battlefield? Karen had on a lightly equipped battle suit. Swearin was wearing a fully equipped battle suit. But Swearin displayed a picture of the ferocious beasts inhabiting the jungles of Africa, Europe, and South America. We're just taking appropriate measures in case those things come around. In space, the average travel time is almost the same from one side of a planet to the other as it is anywhere else, no matter where you go on a planet. So in their eyes, being on the same planet seemed to them like they could be within the same area as those wild beasts. As we have explained, the captain and I are from the Earth's Japan. Don't you remember that the Earth is in an early civilization zone? You don't have to worry about dangerous animals wandering up to Sena and Kariko's family. If anything, Mihoshi may be more of dangerous threat. Ahahaha. Amain. You're in no position to judge. What is with that strange look? Kariko shouted as she struck the monitor. Amain was dressed as if she was going to a medieval aristocrat's ball or a costume party. What is so strange about it? This is the look of upper-class society. We aren't going to such a place. We're going to see an ordinary family in an ordinary town. As a member of the Konak family, I must dress dignified, especially to meet Sena's parents. I must as well on behalf of the Balta family. Ryoko, who had changed back from Irma, also said to Kariko, Ugh. I can't believe you two. Do you expect to run around in those outfits the whole time we're there? And I shouldn't have to tell you this. Obviously, you shouldn't wear clothes that use materials that don't exist there. What are you even thinking? On their clothes, there were parts that were completely floating in air. On some parts the color changed, and there were parts that were constantly changing in shape like the waves of the ocean. And finally, Hakurin. I don't know where to even start with you. But if you wear that, you're going to be picked up by the police for looking like a prostitute. Hakurin's dress was a scaly silk-like see-through negligee. The scales were lightly opalescent, but it was almost completely see-through, and she was nearly naked underneath wearing what looked like a swimsuit or underwear. Surprisingly, Jayakiran is dressed the most decent, but Kariko gazed at Jayakiran with a subtle look. She looked like she had walked right out of My Fair Lady. Her outfit resembled something which would have been worn in New York or Paris around the 19th century. Moreover, it suited her perfectly. It's still a bit much for wearing to the captain's house, Kariko said a bit faintly. Perhaps it was okay. She couldn't make up her mind. Why? Does it look bad? Jayakiran seemed a little shy and looked at Sena. Well, it suits you very well, but the place I live is in the countryside, so you might stick out. But the rest of you have on outfits that are out of the question. Change them immediately. And I spent so long picking this out. Anyways, this gathering is to give you a lecture on the Earth. So, let's get back to that. This is the scenery of our town. Kariko projected a picture. You should wear casual clothes like you would in a suburban area or a place that was far from the center of the city. This isn't Jurai. Please only wear ordinary natural materials here. The season is summer. The highest the temperature gets is 33 degrees Celsius. It's very hot and humid, so it may be better to wear something a bit loose-fitting. WoW don't exist here, so Ryoko don't transform. Please read the profiles I gave you carefully and commit them to memory. We must remain top secret on Earth. Any highly visible behavior is strictly prohibited. Jayakiran, don't do anything funny, and the rest of you don't try to tease her into doing anything. Of course, Earthlings don't have bioenhancement, so be careful what you do in front of people. I will be screening everything you bring down with you. While listening to Kariko's explanation, Amain was reading the material. Everyone will be treated as a foreigner, which will help with you being unfamiliar with Japan to some extent, and Sena, don't get distracted just because you're in a familiar place. You must remember what I warned you about when you came to the academy. I'll be careful not to be taken to the hospital. Good. Then this ends the briefing. Amain started checking the acceptable materials for clothes in order to prepare an outfit for the Earth. The Kamedake had many facilities to manufacture various things necessary for daily life. They were found when Fuku and the ship were fully linked, and of course there were also facilities for sewing clothing. Moreover, provided were both natural materials and artificial synthetic materials, and all of them manufactured superbly. Among them, Amain was astounded because there was a large supply of Jurian silk. Whoa, are these genuine? Amain, who saw the amount that was stockpiled, was puzzled. She couldn't believe it. I have seen some pop up into circulation several times because of my father's business, but I have never seen this much at one time. Is it really genuine? Amain, you know that the composition of Jurian silk is patent protected. Of course. But even if it wasn't, the ingredients are expensive and even the illegally made fake stuff could only be sold for half of the regular price. In other words, fakes were too risky and the profit margin too thin. These all have stamps on the cases. It's genuine. There's some here from Funaho, Misaki-sama, and Seto, Kariko said with a trembling voice. Since the royal family produces it by themselves, I've heard that they have quite a large quantity of it to themselves. When we became female officers of Seto, we received a few sets of regular silk clothes, Hakurin said, also shocked. As expected of Seto, Amain looked at Sana. Everyone was aware of her intentions. They wanted to ask him if it was all right for them to make clothes with this. Even if I have it, I have no use for it, so please enjoy it, everyone. Oh, thank you, Captain. Amain was glad and began to discuss the use of Jurian silk with the others. It was a super luxury item that was rarely obtainable. Even if they had gotten permission to use it, they couldn't decide on what to make. After a while, they decided on matching uniforms. It was decided they would make 2 uniforms and underwear and 2 sets of night clothes. By the way, even making all that, the total amount used was less than a single % of the inventory. We can use more. Even so, if we use it up, we won't have any more of it. And it is the best to think about how to use the fabric after actually using it. Then let's hurry up and start sewing. Even with that said, they had to choose the design. Kariko made use of the tremendous amount of clothing data that was in the Kamadeke's database and joyfully began sewing clothes for them to use on Earth. 2 days later, the Kamadake arrived on Earth.